Guys, welcome back to another edition of That Fuzz and Rock Show interviews, and we got a great one for you guys today. Hope you're excited as I am about it. We're going to welcome Hamish. I hope I'm saying it right, and if I'm not, please correct me. Hamish from GODTHRYMM, come on in, buddy. How are you?
Oh, very well. Thank you so much. And yes, pronunciation perfect. Thank you, sir.
Yes, listen, normally I'm not that good, so I get excited when that happens. First of all, let me thank you for hanging out with us today. I definitely appreciate your time, and I'll try not to waste a bunch of it, but I get kind of chatty, so we will definitely get right into it. We are here to talk about the newest album. It's called Distortions. It's out now via Profound Lure Records. I can't read my own writing. Sorry about that. Folks, check your local check your streaming platforms for availability. We will talk about all of that in just a second. First, let's talk about the band a little bit. Who's who in the band and what do they do?
So I'm Hamish. I'm vocalist and guitarist in the band. Also then joined by long-term collaborator Sean Taylor Steels on drums and Bob Crawler on bass. And then the newest addition to the band would be my good lady wife, Catherine, who joins us on keyboards and vocals.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. So when did you guys first form the band?
So that was about 2017, and been doing the Decibel tour out in America whilst I was playing in the band Valenfire, and made very good friends with the band Pallbearer, and they, wonderful guys and an incredible band, and they, kind of really reignited my passion in the, doom kind of music once again. They were very interested in hearing about some of the previous bands that I'd been in, so we'd talk a bit about, My Dying Bride and Solstice. And when I came back, I was just very keen, to then, get back to pursuing the style of music once again. And so spoke to Sean and then told him about meeting Pallbearer and how, these guys were just, absolutely amazing. And I really wanted to kind of, return to that kind of old classic, early kind of 90s take on doom metal. And so we started just jamming out some old favorites of ours, and that quickly turned into writing new material and music, doing a few shows, and then put the first album together. And that was very much a bit of a love letter to that old musical style, and really enjoyed reconnecting with that. And then now, as the band's continued to progress and we want to kind of expand on that sound, then we just wanted to incorporate more elements of the different influence and inspiration that we've got. So I think now we're doing something that's a bit more diverse, a bit more dynamic, and I'm really quite excited by it.
As well, you should be. You guys are based in the UK, correct? That's where you're talking to me from now.
Yep, that's right. Up in the north of England, Yorkshire.
Gotcha. So now, talking about the UK, what does the metal scene look like in the UK right now? How is it? How is the scene over there? Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the video. If you guys like what you see, do me a favor, right down here, click that subscribe button, give the video a like, and ring that little notification bell. That way you guys know when we post new stuff and when we go live on the air. Do me a huge favor. Tell a friend or two. Now, let's get right back to the action.
So right now, it's, got some kind of great bands, even just in and around the area where we are. I mean, here in Yorkshire, there's a real great, history and tradition of bands like aforementioned My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost. And there's a real great circling scene of, old friends who've been in the scene for kind of a long time, and people are still very much involved in music as well. We've been playing some shows recently with a wonderful band called Oaken Throne, who again friends from all back in the scene as well, and again just really passionate about what we do. As also then kind of great mix of your thrash revival bands too as well. Evil just like kind of in the next town over as well, and close friends. So just very fortunate to be a part of it. Try and make a point of seeing shows where we can and checking out bands where possible. It feels a good, vibrant scene right now.
What do you think about the metal scene worldwide? What's your take on that? You think it's
worldwide?
Yeah. Do you think it differs from back in the day, or?
So I think the difference now, it's kind of interesting. Social media means that you can very quickly, go from one side of the globe to another, and I think that's kind of really quite amazing. On one hand, can be a bit kind of daunting that there's so much out there, and there's a lot of bands, a lot of people doing what they're doing, and I think that's just amazing. I think as long as people are, true to their, vision and art, then let's just all get in and all be doing it together. It's amazing.
100%. So now you've mentioned that you played the US and obviously the UK and probably several hundred other places. Do you notice a difference between, let's say, the US crowds and the UK crowds? Do you notice a difference between the audiences, or is it kind of all the same?
So it's interesting. I kind of think that maybe when we are abroad and elsewhere, there's maybe a bit of a kind of an interest of something a bit different from a different part of the world. The music's a bit of a kind of a portal into people's feelings and lives in other areas. So
Sure.
there can be certain unifying kind of themes and sounds that you hear throughout the different bands, but it will always be colored somewhat by the kind of surrounding area and the life that you've come up with. So there will certainly be subtle differences throughout. Someone who gets to enjoy the glorious kind of sunshine and big vistas of open kind of roads and things.
Sure.
Will have a different kind of passion to maybe what we have around here, whereas it's a lot of rain, a lot of industrial towns, and it's a slightly different vibe. So I think it's wonderful when that's reflected in the music and people's appreciation of it, and then finding something from somewhere else from a different perspective. I think that's it's just great, where we can celebrate, take influence and inspiration from all of that.
Absolutely. So now let's talk about you personally for a second. When did you first know that you wanted to be a musician? Like what made you take that path of being a musician?
Well, I was very lucky that my father's always been a guitarist, so there were guitars in the house, and a great old record collection as well. And it'd be playing music in the car, and there'd be certain things I'd really kind of pick up on and be really excited by.
Sure.
And british remembering like the kind of very early Peter Green version of Fleetwood Mac, for instance, and the British band Free as well, and the guitarist Paul Kossoff, who I just thought is just amazing, emotive guitar player, and so I was very much kind of drawn to that. And then as I was getting into it, and then got first kind of couple of records given to me, like from the old collection, like your Black Sabbath, and was just immediately like, wow, okay, here we go.
Sure.
This
yeah, absolutely.
what I need to be a part of. And so I was very lucky to then be able to have guitars in the house I could just immediately pick up and start trying to get to grips with. And then of course the influence then of American thrash coming through at that time was just blew my mind, with Overkill and Metallica, and then the combined kind of love of the old Sabbath and the Free that I was loving. Then when some of those bands brought it down a gear in some ways, and did some more slower kind of things, like when Overkill were doing Skull Crusher and stuff like that, then that just like really reconnected again for the idea of slow, heavy music, and that was just a real kind of passion. Then found the whole world of then the darker, heavier music as well. In with Paradise Lost, who from the same town as well, and knowing those guys early on, hearing that, and then being open to the world of Celtic Frost and Candlemas, and just like absolutely. So I always knew I wanted to play guitar, and then it was certainly around the kind of 1990, the early 90s, where then knew that what I wanted to do was going to be playing slower, heavier, arguably depressive but dark music, and it just seemed to kind of really connect. And like how Free and some of the old English folk rock kind of bands would sometimes have some really melancholic songs, and that just really appealed. So the idea of doing that in this realm of heavy distorted guitars was just great, and I just knew I had to be a part of it, and tried to make it my business, that I got to be able to play with like-minded individuals, which has been great. And so, as I say, now me and Sean, we've been playing together in different bands and things for a good over 25 years now. So it's still hanging on in there.
Attaboy, there you go. So if it wasn't going to be music, what do you think your career path would have been?
Well, I mean, being able to do a couple of things over time. I was always interested in kind of acting and theater side of stuff, and so I used to do that a good while, and of course then the nature of playing quite niche music like this means that I've got to have another life as well. So in working in healthcare as well, so that's a big important thing to do, and seeing all kind of walks of life, and then trying to do the best that you can in a world that sometimes has some unfortunate twists and turns. So so it's a bit of a varied life. Got very much light and shade in everything that we do. So I think it'll cover everything.
Well, you're a people person. You either want to entertain them or help them. That's definitely cool, man. That's really cool.
Oh, thank you. I just try and do the best that I can.
And now you're doing both, so that's even better.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So now let me ask you this. You talked about some of your earlier influences. Is there anything out there new that has your ear right now?
So a couple of things that really excited me, that I thought the Cave-In album from last year was just absolutely wonderful. I really enjoyed that. Just great, huge, wonderful production, heavy music, but super melodic as well. And I just really just got right into that album, and that was one of the most exciting things I'd heard for a bit. Just recently as well, then over this neck of the woods, there's a band from Northumberland called Arth, which do this really big, expansive, like almost funeral doom style. They call it monastic doom. Yep. Very slow, very big, a lot of organs and multiple layers of almost like chanting vocals, and that's just absolutely amazing as well. And darker as well, near here as well, where Jane, who's the lead, well, she is darker ultimately. She's the whole vision of it, doing this very haunting and really quite ethereal but crushing music as well. So there's a lot out there to love and appreciate.
Absolutely. There's another band that's out there I could suggest to you. It's this awesome band called GODTHRYMM. They have this new album out. It's called Distortions. People should check it out. We'll get to that in a second for sure.
Thank you.
So let's slip the shameless plug in there. You know what I mean? So I have this thing I do. It's rapid 5 response questions. I'm going to give you 5 questions. Answer as quick as you can, but I always love a good answer. So don't feel like you need to really rush through it. But so the first question is, do you remember the name of your first band ever?
It was Under Threat. Was first band. Only played local shows, but yeah, and it was attempting to be a bit thrashy, but it was just real kind of straight heavy metal, really.
Name one album that you could never get sick of.
Oh, Paranoid, Black Sabbath.
Attaboy, there you go. This one's tough. This one's a tough one, and sometimes it brings up some emotion. So, forgive me if I do. Have you ever sold a piece of music gear that you regret selling?
Yes, and I sold it at a time when my daughters were young and childcare was so expensive, and had to really look at the equipment that I had, and so I had to make a couple of quite painful sales then. But thankfully, the one particular guitar that I really regret selling went to a wonderful chap in Belgium who I'm pleased to call a friend, who then had said that, if I could afford to buy it back in the future, then I could do. And I've just recently got it back and reconnected with that. So
no kidding.
Thankfully, that one's got a happy ending to it. That was the most significant one, because that particular guitar I'd used a lot in My Dying Bride, and lots of very kind of key shows and things and recordings, and it was special. So I'm very pleased to have it back. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff that it's a shame that it's gone, but ultimately kind of thought that instruments, amplifiers and things, these are tools for what we're wanting to create. Sure. And so always kind of thought that they can be a bit transient sometimes, but no, that one certainly proved me wrong. That yes, there is definitely a very real relationship with that guitar.
There you go. Do you remember the first gig you ever played?
First gig I ever played was in a nightclub in Halifax. It was called the Empire at the time, and I was singing and playing guitar, and was really nervous because I was really young at that point in time, and I wasn't as much nervous about playing the show, which I was a bit nervous about, but I was very much nervous thinking that, oh, I'm going to be up on stage, people are going to notice that I'm underage, and I'm going to get thrown out, and it'll be really, really, really embarrassing. All the rest of the band were older, but I was only just a young teenager, but I had long hair down to my elbows and was trying to pass myself off as being older.
Sure. Do you have so this is the fifth question. Do you remember your biggest on stage biggest accident, or something that either bad or something bad that happened on stage that kind of stands out in your mind the most?
So one relatively recent history, I think, would be playing in Vallenfire, and was in Stuttgart. It was a big show. We were doing a tour with Bolt Thrower, and there's this one particular part of one song where the band fully stops, and I do a little lead line before they come back in. But I was possibly still a bit hungover from the previous nights, and then when this section came, and then it was just a total dead stop. In my mind, I completely thought that the song was finished, and then so it was like total perfect stop, and then just a few bars later, the rest of them come in with ba ba ba. I'm like, oh wait, oh god, and then I had to join in. It was like, the most obvious thing where, I'd totally dropped the ball there. Sometimes with some mistakes, you can kind of do it and maybe, give a nasty look towards the bass player and blame it on them. But this one, no, there was no getting away from it. That was totally my mistake.
Now, is that your go-to? Do you always blame the bass player, or do you kind of pass the blame to the drummer as well? Like you got to break it up a little bit, right?
Yeah, it depends on the nature of what I've done wrong and what I can kind of get away with.
There you go. You always got to pick on the bass player. Always pick on those poor bastards. You know, they get the sort into the stick most of the times. So let's talk about this new album. It's called Distortions. It's out now via Profound Lore Records. Guys, check your streaming platforms for availability. So let me see if I got my question right here. How are the early projections so far for the album? How's it going?
Well, the reviews are amazing. I'm absolutely just kind of blown away by what just seems to be, so far all universally great reviews. The majority of which are in the region of kind of 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. And what was amazing how Decibel Magazine gave us 9 out of 10, and the featured review was absolutely just blown away by that. And then a small number of reviews that are still good, but not as high. So there's nothing that's been particularly negative so far, and I just find that amazing. And been very much kind of touched as well by friends and peers in the scene as well, sending me messages saying great work and well done, and I just think that's amazing. So. I feel very fortunate to be able to, share the fruits of our labors with people.
Yeah, I think Decibel's right on the mark with that. I think 8's low. I think you guys are at a 9, and I mean you can't give anybody a 10 really, because there's no way of improving if you give somebody a 10. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And then if you think of the albums that would be, 10 out of 10. I mean, you're in the realm of kind of Rainbow Rising or something like that. So
right.
No, would never want to pretend to be anywhere near that kind of world.
So how did you guys connect with Profound Lore Records?
I'd noticed and respected the label with releases from the likes of Yob and Paul Bearer, and then it had also been recommended by a friend to just get in touch and reach out, and that's just exactly what I did. Sent an email off to an email that had been provided by someone who evidently was a mutual friend there, and straight away were interested to hear what we were doing, interested to what we were going to do next, and had a really great conversation about music in the first instance, and think albums from the past that we both really appreciated, and clearly there was a connection there in mutual appreciation of some of the same things, and I think it just worked out great. I've absolutely loved the relationship up to now. It's just brilliant. I'm very, very pleased with them, and just fortunate that it means get the opportunity to record the albums and get them out. So absolutely, I hope the album does well for Profound Lore and their belief in this. That that would be something I'd like to see.
No, absolutely. So now this album is a follow-up to your previous 2020 release, Reflections. Tell us a little bit about that.
So Reflections was very much a kind of reconnection with that music that I'd loved in the past, very much the kind of early 90s, almost even more death doom kind of style. So the sound and production of the album is quite dark, it's quite dense, and really happy with it at the time that we were doing it, and really enjoyed and very proud of that album. But sure. Then moving next, was very keen that we would kind of move and expand on the sound and style, add a bit more diversity, add a bit more layers, and was then thinking that the kind of stuff that really kind of excites me and what I feel very comfortable doing is a lot of layers of guitars, and so we needed a production that was then going to allow the space for everything to kind of be heard. We're bringing in keyboards, we're bringing in multiple layers of guitars. There's 4-part harmonies in various sections, and just thinking, just do it all, throw it in. harmony vocals, the whole lot. So
There you go.
it needed a production that would allow that space and still have, you know, a big sound, but one that, you know, had real kind of clarity. And we found the studio, the Nave Studios, and Andy Hawkins, the producer, recorded one song with him, which then was the Chasms single, and that just showed that, yep, perfect place and man for the job. So went on to do the album. Took quite a bit more time in just trying out different vocal approaches and techniques, and allowing the songs to have time to, you know, develop and be absolutely certain that they were the ultimate definitive version. And then in doing so, as well, as, you know, inspired us for the next phase as well, where we want to see how much further we can push it, you know, bring in some, you know, kind of different sounds and influences and instruments even as well, still with the core of you know, the core template of the sound of what we do, but just see what else we could do to move this sound forward. Because you know, it's not just a celebration of the past and past influences. We, you know, feel very inspired by what we're doing at the moment, and it's exciting and rewarding to be, you know, creative. So
Sure, absolutely.
So that process begins straight away to allow chance for the songs to, you know, mature and develop over a, you know, as long a period of time as we can give it.
Listen, if you ever want somebody to do a triangle solo, I'm your guy. I'll just, you know.
Thank you.
I'll add that layer to that if you want. So how long did it take to write the new album? How long did it take to write it?
It was mostly written from the period of the release of Reflections, because once that was then done, we only got to do a small number of shows before everything kind of shut down for a while. And so then found myself doing writing and demoing, recording at home, and then sending that through to the others. So that process started quite early on. So the songs had a good bit of time to, you know, go through various, you know, formations before it ended up being what's on the album. The bulk of the album was recorded towards the end of last year. So, you know, the songs have been finished and recorded for quite a bit of a time, but the lead time on album production is kind of so long now. It's just coming out now, even though the album was fully mixed and mastered at the start of the year. So it was a good couple of years worth of writing in there. There was only really one song that had existed before the writing process, one song that had been played live a couple of times, and that's the song Devils. But even then, that one, we wanted to kind of update it and change it around a bit to suit more what we were doing now. That's why that song probably sounds a little bit different to some of the album. It's a bit more straightforward, a bit more rocking, if you will. But yeah, I like how it's a, you know, different texture to the rest of the album.
Mm-hmm. So the current single now, actually, you mentioned Devils. That's the current single that's out now. Tell us a little bit about Devils.
So that's the one with video, and we shot a video with Ash Piers, who is a great director. He's local to us as well. He's done videos with Paradise Lost and done with Valenfire before. He's just great, and it was a perfect song to do a video because it is just a much more dirty, fuzzy, heads down, hair down, and, you know, tattoos out, kind of, you know, honest,
yeah, absolutely
honest representation of, yeah, this is us. If you were going to be seeing us live, this is who you're going to see, what you're going to see. And it seemed like a good kind of direct song to you know, do the video for. The song itself is, you know, wrestling with our own, you know, kind of devils of regret from the past, or, you know, kind of, you know, desires or wants or obsessions, and then just trying to kind of grow and, you know, survive and be a better person throughout it.
Where did you guys record the album? Where was it recorded?
So it was recorded at a converted church in Leeds. It's been converted into a studio. It's called The Nave, and incredible big live room, wonderful place. And Andy Hawkins, the producer, just absolutely great. So hoping he's going to join us to be doing live sound for some shows that we've got coming up.
So the first single off the album was called Echoes. Tell us a little bit about Echoes.
So Echoes is much more on the melodic side of what we're doing. There's a lot of harmony lead work in there, and also the cleanest vocal that I'd kind of recorded as well on the first album. Whilst I was still, kind of finding own confidence as a vocalist, it gravitated a bit more towards a dirtier, throatier kind of vocal. And the song Echoes was written very much as tribute to a friend of ours who sadly died a couple of years back. And most of the lyrics are just directly from the eulogy I spoke at his funeral.
Wow.
So pretty much verbatim, straight, from what I said at the time is in that song. So vocally, just wanted something that was just in keeping with the song and just kind of felt natural to just do it in a much cleaner style of vocal. And thankfully, it took the time and care to really kind of go with that, because it was coming from the heart, a real heartfelt thing. It just came out the way that it did, and thought that it would be a good song to kind of release first, to kind of really point out to people that there's quite a radical departure in terms of what we're doing this time round compared to the first album. So
Gotcha.
Very pleased with the reaction that it got, and so there were a good couple of singles to kind of showcase a couple of different sides of what we're doing.
No, absolutely. So now this is the question that everybody, I'm not going to say hates, but tough question to answer. It's almost like asking you to name your favorite kid. Do you have a favorite song on the album?
Probably Follow Me, actually.
Okay.
It's even though it's a big, long epic of a song, it's got so much of what I really enjoy doing, and that's a lot of harmony guitar work in there. There's like intertwining guitars, and Catherine's vocals sound great and haunting in the mid section. That's I think really rides on a real kind of vibe and feel. And it was also very special having our very dear old friend Aaron from My Dying Bride coming in and doing a little guest appearance on it as well.
Cool.
So not only did he make the song just sound so much better, he just added his unmistakable class to it as well. But it was also so nice because we've got such a history together. We spent 15 years in a band together, so it was great being able to do something together again.
Oh, awesome. So now last question before I let you go. Do you have any plans do you guys have any plans of touring support of the album?
So just at the moment right now, I've been contacting agents and venues looking to get shows booked. We've got an album launch show coming up next month with some old dear old friends who are great bands on the bill as well. So we're very much looking forward to that. And then looking forward to seeing exactly what kind of offers and opportunities we get. So we're very keen to be sharing these songs live with people. So I just hope we get the chance. So hopefully we might see some offers coming through via the website or the avenues that we're looking at. So I hope so. I hope we get to do a lot.
Well, look forward to that. Now, do you have anything else to tell the folks before we wrap it up? I know Liz is probably going to kill me. I took way too much of your time as it is. So,
I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about, the band and music. It's, it's something we put a lot of work and, our love and effort into. So it's just great having the opportunity to share it with people. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Believe me, folks, you can check out the newest release from GODTHRYMM. It is called Distortions. It is available now via Profound Lore Records. I can't read my own writing again. See that? Check your streaming platforms for availability, please. For more info, you can check out godthrymm.com, facebook.com/GODTHRYMM. Same for Instagram. It's GODTHRYMM, GODTHRYMM. ProfoundLoreRecords.com, and Facebook looks like Facebook and Instagram are both Profound Lore Records. Check them out there, guys. Hamish, listen, man, I appreciate your time in. I know I took a little bit extra what I'm supposed to, but it was a great conversation. I appreciate it. I don't need to wish you any luck on the album because it stands on its own, man. I think you're going to do great with it. And stop back and see us again, man. I'd love to sit down and talk some more.
Absolutely wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much. An absolute pleasure.
Yeah, listen, my friend, I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Hamish from GODTHRYMM. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.